Like, call to order, it's like 4:30. If you haven't signed in, please make sure you do. If we don't have a name placard, that means you're kicked out, just kidding, we've forgotten it. And we did grab an agenda, they are next to the sign sheet. We'll start with the approach to the agenda. It's a little bit loosey goosey. Hopefully this is more discussion than it is anything else. There's some leftover items from the retreat to go over, and several updates from the staff that we want to make sure we have time to get in. But I will entertain any motion to approve the agenda by John and second by Dr. Lane. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposition? Perfect. Also sent out meeting minutes from the retreat. They were long because we met for 3 hours, or 4 hours, but if you weren't able to attend, it was a really, I think, productive time, really great time to talk about things that have been on our list to do and to discuss. Hopefully everyone had a chance to review those. Are there any amendments to the minutes that you saw? Yes, Dr. Frank.
Wanted reviewing the minutes at the beginning, since that was our retreat. I think somewhere there we did indicate at the top, it said meeting, but I should say retreat. Is that right?
Underneath it, it says retreat minutes.
So do we need both or?
I think both are fine.
Okay.
This is a meeting and services or June meeting anyway. But as long as there's a date that it's within the retreat, I think it's okay.
On page 2, down under created, there's one presentation of accomplishments scheduled for November. To clarify that that's to city council,
That's correct.
so maybe we should put that in there. And just kind of like, every, we know, but others that read it, you know.
Where are you referencing?
On page 2 of the minutes under created. You see that? On the back, the second would be the second page of the, you have them.
Oh, okay. I see.
All right. You see it?
Yeah, I see created. Where,
Okay, drop down to where it says presented, presentation of accomplishments scheduled for probably, you see that?
for November.
Yes, and that's to city council. That's what that's about my understanding.
And that's in 2024, right? November 2024.
The other thing on page 4, at the top, as part of my comment, let me see. Pushing back and see, the last sentence, CAC is pushing back on decisions made without CAC's input. Okay, that kind of helps clarify that a little bit. It's kind of overrated to me. That's all the comments I
Have a few as well.
Are you noting those? Do you have
I think that's
those?
the last one, but I can't, it's on page 4, Dr. Lane's comment. Any other amendments to the agenda to the minutes?
Since, I was listed as a board member present, this is officially my first meeting, so I suppose I would be listed as a visitor instead. But my term doesn't begin until now, and so like the vote count, should probably reflect that.
You were approved as a board member for in.
I think her term started July. Yeah.
You are, right, you said.
That could be reflected, and then the only vote that had a count to it was on page 4. The motion
would have been a comment,
Yes.
on the public comment.
Then 9 in favor, 2 opposed. I was in favor, but then the count should reflect 8 instead of 9. And then I have a question, yes. Sorry. I'm just curious if, for the purpose of the minutes, to capture members that opposed or supported, is that, my experience is that it is reflected the names of folks who opposed or supported.
We have not previously, I know that was myself, Dr. Lane, and we put it in there for record, that's what we have our records.
Because since it was something just so that, if CAC members want to know which people oppose this, who are in favor of, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, that was. I have noted this, Jeff, for the case you're looking at it, it's, that vote was Dr. Lane and I. Any other notes or nothing?
I just have comments. Is this an appropriate comment?
Is it changing the what's it, the
Yes, yeah. One of them would be on page 2, under, right above the officer elections, the board photos. Outside with new community engagement sandwich board. I just think perhaps it would be helpful if it's reflected and was consistent with the verbiage that says, like the A-frame, so folks know what a sandwich board is.
Because it's that, well, to be fair, it's not an A-frame.
Yeah.
It's not an A-frame. Yeah,
I've never heard of the term sandwich board. I don't know, like, just thinking of community citizens, like reading this and they go, what is a sandwich board?
When I
That's
went to the printer, get some of those, they call them heat. I've never heard of saying.
yeah, the A-frame is what holds an easel, like it's an easel that you put pat on, that's an A-frame or a ladder. So like the shape is indicative, but in terms of marketing lingo, it's a sandwich board.
Yeah, I mean, if you worked in a restaurant, if you worked anywhere before, you know, what sandwich board is, and how last we sit out front, it's gonna tell you if you're open or not, or something like that. It's a,
I think for clarification, you might want to look it up, because I've just brought some E-frames for my church.
is it?
And the printer, when you request what you want, I think they have E-frame. So, just to be clear,
Just for clarification. you
I'm
will
gonna
correct
recommend
that.
we put A/sandwich board.
I'm gonna push back on that, just because what this might be doing is pointing to the person that's taking notes.
No.
It's a difficult task. I would love if we had the problem of people being confused by our minutes, but if I'm being real, we didn't have them to put up last year.
So, I was just about to say, at a certain point, like, I can see where it is, but also clear.
Yeah, I mean, I would love for people to engage with us, to say like, hey, I was reading your minutes, oh my God, I didn't say a word. In that way, but then also that ultimately in terms of industry alignment, it's an accurate term. When we search A-frame, maybe the A-frame board comes up with it. So they are synonymous.
again, I went to the printer, I just got something,
But let's just have this, let's just read it, so we can move on to the next.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was bringing it up because it was inconsistent and it's referencing use of funds that were spent. And so just to clarify, purchase of a meeting signage A-frame, and then it's reference to something else. So, and I was unfamiliar with it and I worked in the restaurant industry for 10 years, so it was foreign to me.
Synonymous words for.
And then my last point is on page 5. And then I saw whenever reviewing the collateral copy, the revisions that were made. And she might have the notes, because what I had listed is that we were removing the dates. So that, and just keeping that it's the second Wednesday of every month and giving the time, so that there's no, this pamphlet could be used from indefinitely until the date or time is changed. So my understanding from the discussion was that all of the dates would be removed.
I had the Wednesdays because it would be consistent, but I think there was also discussion about keeping those because we still have to vote on keeping the meeting the same day. So in the revision, it still has, well, we'll do the second day of the month, but I don't know if that we'll decide on that today, and let's say the same. If not, then we can add, so adding the second Wednesday of the month, but if we keep it, then we can choose to add the day. But, I think what I have is to remove the Wednesday, but keep the days possible. So I just,
And I'm having the opposite, so.
and we can still change it, that's why we just revised it today, but for the sake of the minutes. I don't know what exactly was in the minutes, it says to take the dates out.
It
They
does.
just said copies.
Okay, so then we can edit it whenever we get to that would be. It's illegal. Thank you very much. Yeah. Any other amendments to the minutes? Not to put it on the spot, Carmen, but anything you saw?
I'm good. I make a motion that the minutes be accepted with the changes, comments made.
Motion to accept the minutes as amended, second by Anthony, sorry, that motion was by Dr. Lane, second by Anthony. All those in favor, please audibly say aye. Any opposition? Excellent. We've got an agenda, we've got minutes, we are now going to go into public comment. And so we have one guest with us today, just to visit.
Yes, hello, everyone. My name is Shakima McLean, and yes, I'm just a visitor. What else to say? Other than also, part of the Raleigh Community Community Persons with Disabilities. I'm the Transportation and Community Access Chair. I'm co-chair and for scholarships. And fun fact, we have a breakfast tomorrow. A breakfast conference for our employer resource, and this is my son.
Thank you.
Nice chance we could all introduce ourselves.
Yes, thank you for coming and for being here. If you would like to leave your information with us, you're welcome to. There's a sign fee for visitors as well. Okay, perfect. Excellent segue. Again, we are in a position of transition, so several members coming in, some members will be ending their terms, some people leaving. So quick introductions because there are unfamiliar faces even to me. And some of you again, we went on retreat. So I'm going to start be selfish. Stacey Agura, I'm serving the board chair. And I'm a District A representative, but also a new resident, so I'll be representative.
Tom Simon, District C. April Markle, District C. Anthony McLeod, District D.
Hill, District D.
This
I don't think
is
she could hear everybody.
Clinton Hill, District D.
Ulysses Lane, District C, I guess, senior representative.
I'm Kaufman, District C, but, think community engagement, something like that.
Any story?
Michelle Rocky, District E, represent renters or a renter.
Veronica Green, District A, representing first time serving on the board commission.
Dan Martin, District B.
Hi, I work for the City of Raleigh's Office of Community Engagement. I am the Assistant Community Engagement Manager, Dottie Moretta. I don't know if I said my name right. So yeah, Dottie Moretta representing, Office of Community Engagement. And I also assist, the, outreach and policy committee as well, for those who are unfamiliar.
Dale Neal, Office of Community Engagement. I'm the board liaison. And I represent full board and equity, subcommittee.
So I think Veronica's been with us for 2 or 3 months. Suzanne's first time with us was during the retreat. This is the first meeting. We also have what we suspect is one additional member
Additional member.
who will not be here today, but will hopefully join us at our next meeting. So we're almost. Sorry, come on. Was that? Oh.
Yeah, about earlier.
I didn't hear you say anything. Sorry, yes, I'll project. Antoine's first meeting, Suzanne's first official meeting, and then Veronica's been doing this since like April through May. You're in it now, it doesn't matter, you're in it. We're almost back at capacity, so again, we have some people's terms that ended basically with the retreat. One or two that resigned, and then we've now added two officially and one to come, so we're at 15. See 16 this year, it'll be a miracle. Don't any of y'all leave. Get there, that's later. But thank you for being here, and welcome. And hopefully you kind of, it's maybe a lot to take in the first meeting, but we can kind of work with it. I don't think I have questions along the way. Most of the people know more than I do, so please feel free to ask. Same, Suzanne, anything else that we cover that they knew from before the retreat. Donnie mentioned that Councilmember Jones is still away, so she will not be here to give us an update from the city council. Hopefully she'll be able to join us next month. So I'll jump into old business.
May I ask you a question? I apologize for that interruption, but I think at the last retreat, there were the minutes that were to be approved at that meeting were unavailable. And that they were going to be provided, and I was moving forward from minutes totally. Are they available?
They are not. So it was a joint effort of Dale, myself, Jeff, trying to compile where those minutes are, what they say. So what we have may suffice for what we've got. I have some notes that I took just because. But that's something that was not able to be done before the retreat in the way that it needs to reflect the minutes. We do have recordings from the OWL from meetings back through December.
December 2023.
So hopefully, one, we at least have a record of what was said, who said it, because we have the OWL. Some of those are up on community engagement website. There is a YouTube channel that houses those videos as well, but the actual written minutes are less effective in reporting what we discussed at those meetings. So we may have them, what they say may not be helpful, but as soon as we can compile where they are, what they are, and we're still missing, I think, 1 month or two, we'll have them, but.
Thank you, because minutes do matter to me.
Oh, yeah.
So I appreciate the time that you take to compile them. I've taken them for years, and I know you do in your real life. So I very much appreciate the detail that you put in. They are not easy. By any means.
And apologies, it's a sore spot.
No.
So that's great.
It's your 1 minute.
Okay, old business. I'm gonna start with this. The handout. So I emailed it out. I should have printed extra copies. Quick review of it. So we have an opportunity to work with City of Raleigh Communications to create a collateral, a handout for, the board. Tell people what we do, why we do it, what our mission is, and then kind of how to find us. So at the retreat, I presented just a draft of the very basic information. It includes, our mission statement. There's kind of a blurb about a little bit more detail about who we are, about our committees. We discussed including dates for future meetings, which we can get into in just a minute here. And also included our website, email, voicemail, social media, all those components. Thank you so much. So again, this top part, I think, is what is just listed on the City of Raleigh website anyway. Okay. The second part, again, that's just from the city website that says this is what our function is. There's a portion that includes our mission statement. And I don't know if I put that in the revised copy. I hope I didn't again. Oh, I did. Okay, so. Okay. It is changed to our mission statement. So before it was just a generic, kind of what the city described the board as. So change that to our mission statement. The responsibilities are listed on the website again, just in like general what we're supposed to be doing. I had the meeting dates for this upcoming year, which we discussed whether we want to keep all of that or not. The next section was, again, this blurb that I completely made up, so if there are any other edits, we're welcome to discuss those. But I think for the most part, we agreed on it to what it says. There's nothing really too much detail to get tracked in. And then I think below that should have, yes, information on our committee, so just exactly what each committee does to support the work that we already say that we're doing, kind of in that first paragraph. And then the bottom should just be any additional information, so email address, social, public comment list. And again, this is meant to be, I should have kept your example. This is meant to be, don't quote me on the size, but something that's similar to this size. So it's something that will easily be handed out. It's just one fold, so cover, 2 insides and back. We can add a photo, whatever we'd like to it, but it's just something that we can have that says this is who we are, what we do, and how to find us. That will be available to public history.
And I think we've gotten to a point to talk about, because I know that we want to be able to individually identify ourselves. There's a world of getting labels that can then be printed. So then we can apply the labels in the back with our own
I
information.
know which size you wanted, so I got 2.
Yeah, that was a great recommendation, because we talked about having something like a business card, which is great, but doesn't give all the information, and it's small, sometimes get lost. We talked about having something bigger like a postcard, that you can get everything you want from that. So this will allow us to have like general board information, and then if you need to add detail and think on the space in the back, we'll have to ask Katie if that's like what the layout looks like, put on space on the back to have a label, or just blank space, or whatever we need to add, so you can personalize, if you need to add your email address or anything like that to it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, just, because we don't know what we're gonna be using, a variety of materials that we reach out to the public, but I thought we had talked about some kind of, contact information or QR code.
Yes.
Is it on there? Maybe I missed it. So we will have, put that on there, something that they can go to.
Yes.
And then you saw, that's under the additional.
Yeah, just like other things that we put on there, but I didn't.
So the comms part will be that for us, what they said.
Yeah.
Would be fun.
Just one reminder that you all get technically, I'll say technically, one like design thing a year. We do have templates we could use, so we could show y'all the different templates we have, so that way you could use your one ticket for another item.
She showed us the
Yeah.
template.
Yeah, we did it
Okay.
back in, I think it was April or May, she came by and we walked through kind of what the sizes were and
Okay,
what was the path for least resistance to get copy on it, so that, yeah.
So hopefully this fits into that, so we don't burn that more design. I think we'd be have to do that in custom made for us,
okay.
that we use that design on.
Quick question regarding the labels. So the labels are supposed to provide our contact information, assuming that's a voluntary decide you want or not.
Yeah, if you wanna have them, with whatever information you go out for something, just so you don't have to write it down.
This may just be my old ears, but I'm happy you all are just not loud enough today.
It's hard.
And I don't know if part of
I think it's hard to hear, it's a little, it is definitely harder to carry in there, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I'm just asking you all to speak louder.
Outside voices and diaphragm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Anything missed? Here?
Question on the labels, I want to clarify that they're going to be pre-printed for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can totally.
Yeah, so pre-printed for us, and then if we all decide to put them on there or not, that's really the discretion of the board member.
Exactly.
And we're gonna submit the information to you all as part of the contract, create code or label.
Yeah. That would be nice.
Sorry, you submitted to Nadia. Is that, were you asking who?
Oh, that's, yeah, we submit our information, not
Yes.
code label.
But for uniformity, we use the same contact information that we have before. So if it's a name, email address, or, phone number or something, I guess we need to just, for uniformity, or You don't leave it individual.
I would say name and email address because I think that's the extent of what's available
And
on.
you can write anything else you want.
Yeah.
Right.
Your
Okay. That's,
Twitter account, whatever. you want.
that's our discussion, but that's right.
I think that works.
Yeah, but if, I don't know, you guys decide if you want to put your number like here on the label? No, okay. Great. Just name and email. That's easy. We have that already.
Yeah, I think that's what we wanted, that flexibility, but add or not add. And I think it's just a basic uniformity.
I'm undecided. I'm not going to put that on there. It's just, I don't even hand out my contact info.
Everybody can know.
And two, if you will, on that sign-in sheet, if you will write, your preferred email address as well. So if you don't want it to be like a personal email address, but you have one that you use for business or something else, leave it on that. We can pass it around, put it on the front. You just look like that. If you only have one, that's fine, but so if you don't check one email or you don't want to use your very personal one, just so we know that can be what's printed and published. But yeah, you do it on the sign-in sheet and then at least you'll have everyone's information here.
Yeah, so if you don't want your personal email, just put community engagement email on there. Yeah.
So the last meeting, there was discussion, I am looking at the paragraph that says, that's right below the meeting dates. Community Engagement Board was established in 2022. The verbiage that was from the June meeting was changed, but it wasn't exactly, I believe, what the discussion said, because we wanted to incorporate the current mission, but then it would be out of alignment with, it was established in 2022 with the mission of. So that it's not, it's like it was established in 2022. What we discussed in June, my understanding and notes say that we discussed incorporating the current mission. So that's not why it would have been.
From what I can remember, that would have been the mission statement. So the
Right.
first sentence was originally what was on the city website, which was not our mission statement. We've already been wrong. So my recollection, could be wrong, was that changing that to the mission statement instead of the generic one. And then in this paragraph, I had one word that we changed or took out that replaced nurturing. I can actually go back and look at the edits to it. I think I replaced nurturing or took a word out there so it didn't affect the following sentences. Seek out and create continuous opportunities to listen to the city. I think it was somewhere in there. But, so to that point, was it a recommendation to add something into after that 2002 with mission of nurturing sentence?
Well, what I have is that we were gonna change it to a mission of nurturing a citywide approach to community engagement that promotes radical inclusion through trust, transparency, and mutual respect. In addition to that separate conversation that you were just speaking of about changing and updating our website
Got it.
mission, but that's what I had during the discussion, incorporating it here.
Okay.
However, realizing that it's saying that it's established in 2022 with the mission of when in the ordinance, when it was established, there wasn't a mission per se. It just had a purpose.
Okay.
You can always just say, and have the mission of,
Right.
so that it's not,
Has a mission.
yeah.
And my question will be, if we have a mission statement that already exists at the top, do we need to wrangle in the description with the mission specifically? Or just be inspired by the words that are in there?
And to be fair, it wouldn't be accurate if we added the mission statement verbiage in that, because that was not what was established, that's what we created. So that's why I think we said to add it anyway at the very beginning, which will be kind of the front for the introduction of whatever this pamphlet looks like. But I mean, again, this is all up to edits to y'all.
So could I offer Fully Jeff words, could I offer? Could we change it, that first sentence to was established in 2022 to enhance community engagement efforts throughout the city?
Since we already have the mission statement.
Yeah.
And that means they don't have to. That would be.
How's that?
Yeah, I like 2 hands. I think it's, sounds great.
I'm all in that.
They don't need a motion. We need a motion.
So I would make that motion. I would make a motion to, change the first sentence, to say, established in 2022 to enhance community engagement.
Can I ask you to hold that motion in case we have any other minutes?
Okay, I would hold that.
But don't forget. Don't forget. So we got the first sentence. There was also discussion about including the dates. This may be misplaced a little bit in the agenda because we do have to discuss, and it could be a quick discussion, but we do have to discuss whether or not we're basically are saying meeting date, second Wednesday of every month. So the dates could change if we choose to do something differently. But a discussion one is whether or not we want to keep that or just have it say second Wednesday or whatever the date is of the month at this time.
Yeah, my comment would be to have every second Wednesday of the month, at a certain, time, but change it to be announced. Because that's what we're really talking about. We're gonna make some change. We don't even know what it's gonna be. So, but basically, when I do say for a regular routine meeting, it's every second Sunday or every second Thursday of the month. And that's been go from there. I think you can't answer everything else. And then to be announced, lets them know that if it changes, we'll let you know.
Okay.
And we have a website that people go to look for our meeting dates and time. So that would be my suggestion.
Okay.
I might even take a step further, just put for meeting dates, visit the website and not hold us, lock us into anything that could have a calendar conflict or, it may just be easier. And, we may look at it as a group and go, wow, we've accomplished a lot. We don't have a December meeting. And us not be beholden to, a piece of paper that you created and just have everything on the website. We don't want to spell it out. And then that leaves more space to have a larger time, which I think is always attractive.
So does that omit the second Wednesday of the month?
I would admit the second message.
Okay, 2 options.
So that would still be on there now.
They would not, you would just go to the website to find meeting dates and locations.
My only concern when you keep saying website, I always be careful because I have a lot of people that don't go on the website. So this piece of paper that some of the seniors will cherish will know it will be second, and they can go to a website, but not to put it in at all. I'm not sure. I don't know. I would be on that. So,
Yeah, I think that way as well. I think that we need to recognize that everybody's tech savvy, not everybody will. And I think sometimes people are lazy. They're not gonna go to the website just because. So I think having the second Wednesday on there, but going back to your point earlier, as far as just being a second Wednesday, not putting the date so very over last year. We can also take off 2024, 2025 as well.
So I would recommend that as well, because I feel like that will keep consistent evergreen thing. Otherwise, next year, one of our allotted prints will be to rerun this just for the sake of changing that in 2025, 2026.
But then you create a contradiction because if we don't include the second Wednesday of the month,
Yeah.
we do include it.
Yeah.
This board may choose to meet on every Thursday.
If they do, if we make that change, that'd be a big shift. The year's gonna change, the calendar year's gonna change no matter what. We would have to make a model shift to move that date, like the second Thursday of every month.
But it'll still have to be different.
We still have to be reprinted, but right now, if we decided to make that a choice where regardless of whether we chose that, we're reprinting anyway, because the date locks it to just 1 year.
So as far as the tech argument's concerned, if a person wants to come to the meeting, a piece of paper is still useless because the locations are on the website. So I mean, that's the part where because I agree with you. I think, having a piece of paper that you can put in somebody's hands that has all the information. We don't have all the information here. So we're still saying, if you want to come to our meeting, you have to go online. I think less is more in the sense that it gives us the flexibility and it lets us hold this document longer. So I was talking about, hey, it's more evergreen if we don't have that information. So if we're going to force them to go to the website anyway, may as well force them to get all the information.
That's the point I was gonna make, is that the locations aren't on there, so they're gonna have to go to the website or ask someone at a community center anyway. So it doesn't need to be there. I can see both reasonings for wanting to put like Wednesdays at 4:30.
So, we have a couple of things. I agree with taking the 24-25 off. I agree with leaving second Wednesday of every month from 4:30 to 6:30 on there. We're what, third year in here now? We haven't changed that. Where it says check the website for details, I would put the website out to the side of that or a link. Well, not a link, I mean, if we're gonna have this available digitally as well, I would put the link there, but I would also type in the link because community engagement is to make community engagement easier for people. So I don't want people to have to go
So you spell out the
look
URL. like
somewhere else on the paper or the link. I don't have a problem taking the dates off. My other concern though is the same as, Ulysses. We have a lot of elders who are still in Raleigh, who are, it's not even that they're not tech savvy. They don't know how to use their phones without asking their grandchildren. So I don't want to give people a feeling of, I'm not gonna ask somebody else to show me how to do something than from coming to a meeting. I don't want us to push anybody away. And I completely understand, that's their choice. But I don't want us to, that's what it would feel like to me as an elder. And I get to be an elder in a month. So. 65, as far as I'm concerned, is when you get to be an elder, I think maybe elder now. But I spend a lot of time with elders who don't know how to do this stuff. And, some of them do, but they have to learn, they have to ask. And we still have a digital divide in the city of Raleigh, whether we want to admit it or not. So that's a concern for me. They might have, they've got to go to the website to find out where the meeting is, but let's not put any more obstacles in that path.
But isn't it the same obstacle?
It isn't, because you can say, I don't know, can you go on this website and find out where this is for me? You might not mind asking your grandchild to do that, knowing that they're gonna go. Wow.
So I can ask in person too, like they can go to any city facility and say, hey, I know about this, can you tell me
So
what
what
it
if we
is
put
about?
it on our answering machine? What our next meeting was gonna be?
Can I just offer that because it's a folio piece, that what we can do is just take a half sheet of paper and still on the piece have second Wednesday of every month, whatever we decide to do. But then have an insert that goes in that is an annual update that's just made at the copy machine and cut in half. So that we can keep renewing that and it just slides in there and that can have all the dates and the locations that are printed in paper. And then we're not updating the expensive collateral, we're just updating Xerox paper from year to year.
And to be fair, coming to your point, you know, your point, it doesn't have to all lay on elders or people who aren't tech savvy. Just like you said, somebody might be like, I am a person, and if I have to go to 2 places to run my water run, if I don't see it on the second Wednesday of every month, that I can go ahead in my own, like personally, if I didn't see second Wednesday of every month, I'm not going to work where that is. If I have to DM you to buy something, I'm not doing it. So I'm a path of least resistance, put it in my face person. So it's not just elders, it could be anybody with preferences or just accessibility. It's not just that.
Resistance to QR codes. I know a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah, I hate that.
But I mean, to me, like as a former marketer and communicator, like that was an option to create something that lives evergreen, so we can get 3,000, it's gonna be cheaper, and then it will last for several years. And then we can update with an insert. So we're not beholden specifically, I will say, but it does make us beholden to this particular date on that level. But in terms of location and the actual dates as they lay on the calendar, we can just slap something in.
So here's what I've heard so far. We're good with everything that exists. Mission statement, responsibilities. Is that correct? We're removing 2024, 25. We are discussing about the regular meeting dates, whether we have a second Wednesday or not, but we're removing all the dates. We're amending the first sentence in the bottom paragraph to what Carmen said to wrote down for activity. We're good with the description of the subcommittees below all of that. And we're good with the additional information that's included. So the only,
I got one picky thing,
okay,
two, in that paragraph that starts with the community engagement board. On the second sentence after CEV, there's an extra space. And 5 sentences down between diverse and experienced, there's an extra space.
there's,
Extra space. I'm just a proofreader, I'm sorry.
that's not why you're here, but that's why you're here. It's happy with the naked eye. Okay,
I'm also kind of curious to see how others might feel. I'm in support of your idea of the insert that has the time sensitive information, but I'm curious, it contains a lot of helpful information except for instructions other than attending meetings, ways to get engaged. It mentions our standing committees, but that they're open to the public and that action teams can be created. Those are open to the public. So they're not just going, oh, I'm not available on that Wednesday, but there's other opportunities too. So I think that somewhere mentioning how to participate would be helpful.
Would you do something to catch all, like all committee meetings are open to the public as well?
So it opens invitation.
Yeah, just an open invitation to all. Well, obviously we post them as well. When we put up, like, we say we're meeting the committee stuff that goes onto the calendar. So at least they'll be able to find that there, but something that's just generic, it says all meetings are open and available to the public. Yeah.
so is that a recommendation for information on the regular meeting space portion or in the committee portion? Just so I'm clear.
I'm not sure. I think it might be its own, just how to get involved. Like, so it really stands out and it goes across the meetings, the standing committee, like, that, because there's talk of, the community conversation, hours. There's a lot more than just meetings or committee participation. So there's, again, it would be potentially referring back to the website, but of additional ways, different opportunities, besides just attending a meeting.
I think where I have concern is that we don't have an operationalized plan underneath some of those things. So like the ways that people can engage with us are somewhat limited because we're just now getting to the point, sorry, I put the active training on. We're just now getting to the point of actually starting to move. So I think there's a level of like, if we do how to get involved, it might be 2 bullets right now. But then the reality be that there's 7 bullets by the end of the year, and does that create the issue we're trying to circumvent with the the thing, the insert piece, to me, that's where, like, we haven't had official community conversations in that scope because there were other pieces that needed to fall into place. So it's hard to guide people because we don't have clarity in terms of what that means.
If those things are created from within and not necessarily by community, so you like not task force,
Action team.
action team, are things that are at the discretion of each committee chair to create, and then they can invite the public in specific ways to the part. So I would hate to offer something like an action team participation when we can't come to us and say, I want to be part of an action team. It's something that got created based on issue or need that the committee chair sees for specific things that are in their committee. The very one sentence. But just for reference, like some of those things, I think it is a great idea to add, maybe in that regular meeting space that like all meetings, like board meetings, committee meetings are open to the public as well as public comment, something of that nature. But to Jeff's point, like it is difficult to say, here's what comes to, we don't know exactly what those things are yet.
My question would be, because underneath that, I'm sort of hearing the desire for a call to action. And if we're talking about something that, on that line, rather than how to get involved, it might be visit us, just a question of visit us or blah, 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 like as a thing at the bottom to say that I'm trying to think through it, but like rather than how to get involved, it is visit us at these meetings or come to subcommittee meetings and connect with the Office of Community Engagement van. Like to give people some action things.
That could also be an opportunity for our additional design collaborative piece when we have, or things to ask people to participate. Sorry, not in.
Some people might not be aware that we have something like this already for our office. We have, like a handout that we give, that has like our office information, our mission statement. And we have a section that says, how can I get engaged? Or how can I get engaged? Yeah. And the first thing on there is attend one of our community engagement board meetings. So we do cover that. And, during like in our tabling events and things that we're involved in, we get those out. So I'm not sure if that kind of helps your suggestion.
So it's multiple pieces that you give people sort of board and then the OCE piece.
Okay, I'm giving us 3 minutes to wrap this whole discussion up.
So it might be helpful for the new folks on the board to understand that where we are, that we spent our first year figuring out what we were doing, because this is brand new, and we created our bylaws, we created our work plan, and literally it took the whole year to do that, and lots of discussions. And so last year, the council asked us to specifically do a couple of things, and it took several months to do that. So this really is beginning to feel like we're actually getting out to do things, which is what everybody who was originally wanted to do. So I think for you to know that helps you to see why we're not at a place where we feel like we can say some of those things, because things that we post and put in our work plan and bylaws to begin with, we haven't really been able to do operationalize it yet.
Or we
Which is kind of
operationalized
what-
a couple and ended up getting squashed. Yeah.
No, that really makes sense. I appreciate the context. I'm, gathering that. It's implementation and figuring it out as you go.
Yeah.
I'm just very excited about this as well, so that's why I'm like, let's have something that doesn't have to rely on instruction from another piece of pamphlet or paper. That this is a standalone kind of thing, and I think mentioned the meetings, committees are open, and then, I think something to that call to action that's kind of not coming through to me is that you can attend one of these meetings with the purpose of sharing things that are happening in your community that you would like the board to consider informing the council on. So in here, it's, yes, it says that advising and assisting, the city, it doesn't, because I'm looking back over at the, like our charge from city council when it was created and to advise the council on things that it gives us and that we deem has risen to the top. And part of their participation in attending meetings is to say you can bring a conversation to be heard here and that it can be shared with the council kind of thing.
So what if it was all meetings are available to the public and include a public comment moment? Because that is,
Yeah.
because once public comment closes, that's the end and the board goes to work. So if we want it, we just want to make sure we make that. I'm concerned that if you make it sound like it's the whole time, you just engage, that's not what we do. So if we can limit it to that and explain it, that process, I think that's fine. I just don't want people to get the impression they come in, grab a seat and start going on. We won't be able to, that's the kind of stimulation. That's it.
Final comment, that we have to do.
Yeah.
Any other
I like that, because it gives instruction, it gives a call to action, it gives instruction, they know if I'm gonna attend a meeting, I'm gonna have 3 minutes to prepare, and maybe that can be something on the website, or if you have plan on attending a meeting and you wanna make public comment. I'm just thinking of ways like we're saying, let's engage, let's give people a structure and process, and that's kind of what I got from the letter that Larry Elfman wrote, of like, I want to understand the process. How can I contribute my comments? And this is coming from someone who's been very active and engaged. So we're trying to engage people who have never done this before. It's their first time attending. Just give them a little bit more to prepare and to chew on, so.
I would say just don't add 3 minutes. Because what we did was we built a very incredible video about public comment last year that got killed because, yeah.
final comments on anything else needs to be written on this document, because I wanted to get to comment. The edits I have, once again, in case anybody wants to use a reference for a motion. And removing the 2024, can you go back to the top? Everything is good until we get to down, removing 2024, 2025. Regular meeting days, we are still undecided about what to do about the second Wednesday of the month. So it sounds like it's going to be removed. And we can,
No, we said second, let's give the month before there.
I wasn't.
Oh.
It sounded like it was gonna be removed.
Or we keep it and change the information so that it is more generic, so it doesn't have to say, or it adds the website, but it has a place for people to go and find what they need to, but it doesn't have all of the days that a specific Wednesday. Taking out the dates, we've already agreed on. Editing 2 extra spaces in the document that I've noted, and then additional language under the regular meeting dates section that says board and committee meetings are open to the public to attend. And then they have comment, we do have the public comment as open.
So can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
So that last one, board and committee meetings and events. Just in case you guys ever do that.
So since we have different opinion on what to do, that is up to whoever makes a motion to amend this document. And up to us to vote on. All right. I'd like to make the motion. Corbin has a motion.
So, I would like to move that we adopt this collateral copy to include the mission statement, the responsibility section, delete 2024 2025 from that line. Add the website, the side where it says check the website for details. Delete all the dates. add a line there that says all board community meetings and events are open to the public. The section that starts the community engagement board, change the first sentence, delete with the mission of nurturing, add the words to enhance instead. Delete the space on the second sentence between C, B, and seats. Delete the space on the fifth sentence between diverse and experience. And everything on the back as it is. Moved.
This requires a second. Second. You have to get the motion second.
Oh, Lord.
No, I'm serious. A second by Antoine. Any discussion? Additional discussion? Okay. All those in favor of adopting this language for our collateral piece as amended by Carmen, please audibly say aye. Any in opposition? Here. I'll eventually get to what those details were and then again, once I do, I'll send a copy to Nadia, Dale, as well as Tom and the outreach committee for the committee to arrange for Katie from City of Raleigh Comms to see how we can get this dropped into our template and what that timeline looks like. Excellent. We're gonna move on. Dale, I just emailed you a copy of the work plan. Hopefully this is a little bit of a easier discussion. So last year we had an ad hoc committee created to work on establishing our work plan for last year through this year. Some of that was a little bit derailed partially because of the work that was done on the public comment portion, not derailed, was focused on. Because we did a lot of work on the public comment portion for city council. And we were introduced to elements like portico, the idea of what the community conversations, which are in the first part of that work plan. It discusses the community conversations or discussion as kind of our first point, first extension of the work plan. So we didn't really get to that first point of the community conversation because we were still developing what that looked like. And then again, we got introduced to portico and the idea of having a tool to do that. The second portion was responding to the request from council to work on the public comment issue. And then the third thing was being a rapid response arm for any issues like public comment or something that could have been, more direct that came to us from council. So this was our original work plan. We do obviously have to have an updated one to function and to kind of discuss or declare what we do plan to work on this year. A lot of our work since this time has been around developing or deciding what that extra tool was going to be to do our community conversation. So portico, public input. So that part of the work plan in my mind, which again, this is kind of up for discussion, and we can also discuss sort of revising that committee or creating another work plan committee. But I wanted to bring this in general because we've been in this very general discussion about the work specifically around community conversation. In my mind, the first portion is still what we're on target for. Having conversations, going out to the community, working with other entities, whether it's churches, nonprofits, private businesses that work in the community, whatever those elements are, I think all of that is still very germane and very on target for what we want to do. It will be aided by whatever we decide, public input, portico, whatever that element is, and we could amend this to reflect that. But I think that first portion stays the same. That says issue number 1. Issue number 2 is no longer relevant because we did the work on the research and public comment for city council. We presented something and that's, what we were asked to provide information on the public comment process, learn about community's perception, and we offer recommendations as well as, the video. So that portion, again, in my mind, of our work plan, yes. Sorry.
I think we discussed the, video
Mhm.
that was made, which would still be relevant to this. Is that right? So I don't know how we're gonna handle that.
Well, I think the video is still relevant, but to the work that we're doing for the next 12 months, I don't think that's, because the video was created kind of in response to council requests. So I think that video can still be part of like outreach's work, but not our work plan. We're not gonna focus for 12 months of our work plan, working on public comment.
But rather than just leave it as was, to me, the progress is that we recognize how important that video is
Mhm.
and that it needed to be revised, so it could be utilized.
And the outreach committee is going to do that, but as a board, it's not part of our work for the next 12 months.
If we have to make a quick revision to it, we'll work with them on how to do that, but the actual footage, the shooting, the creation of all the ideas and everything else is done. So it'd just be the adjustment to what the existing thing was.
My understanding, when you make your work plan report to the city council, there's a time to show that you had to make adjustments for some reason. Even though you didn't accomplish or you changed something. I don't want to miss an opportunity that we let them know how important this was, that we still want to have that and revision, use a certain thing. I don't know if that.
I see what you're saying. This is separate. So this is separate from what's being presented to city council as what we have done. This is, like, this is what we accomplished, here's what we made, the video is part of that. Now we're saying, we've done this, here's what our focus is for the next year. And that video lives in this portion of here's what we've done. We'll continue to develop that. It's not something we're gonna drop and go away. But as part of our official work plan, like what we are declaring we're focusing on, this was an immediate request from council to work on the public comment, and we did that. So it's not gonna be part of our official focus as a board moving forward. It'll still be something that we can work on committee. They can work with the video, but we don't have a reason to continue researching public comment.
Yeah, I understand the research of the public. I just want to be sure, maybe it'll come up when we talk about what we're going to do for 2025, based on what you're saying, that we're going to say that we're going to do this. This is what we still want to do.
To still work on the video?
Yes.
Yeah.
We didn't say that.
We did, so again, we'll have a report where we talk about everything that we've done. And within committee, we already talked about the retreat. They'll take the video, chop it up, slice it, reuse it. And it's still part of the work that we're going to do, but it's not a tenet that we're standing, that we say we're gonna keep public comment research as part of what we're doing. So the video was just a portion of this request, which we put in our work plan, and the request to review public comment process and offer recommendations. We did that part. We did that for a long time last year. So that part is complete in terms of what they asked us to do. And from what they asked us to do, we created this video as well.
Yes.
So we can check this off and still continue to work on it. But as far as like what we're declaring our work is right now, it doesn't have to be part of what we're doing.
I still don't understand that, because, and I just have to say this, I think we're missing an opportunity to show that this committee's thinking on strategy on this issue needs to be continued.
It's not discontinuous.
I understand, but that, where are we gonna say that it's continued?
In the
In the
committee,
committee.
In the work plan committee report.
Right.
The committee's report in the work plan will state that.
so Jeff,
I think we can move that to number 3.
Or
Right.
like, I think you take it off. Here's why. Well, we're gonna work for 2 years.
wait.
No, what I'm saying is that it now becomes a rapid response item. That's why it's sitting over in committee. We don't have to hold it as a major board because there's nothing else to do with the actual creation, like Tom mentioned. It's not that we're giving it up. We're gonna bring it up in November and yes, we're gonna dig in the side a little bit in that. And then outreach is still going to be working on that arena. For me, where I get uncomfortable when us holding on to that is we've done everything that we can. We did everything that we could, even going so far as to point out literally where in the ordinance the sentence needs to be struck, that the mayor holds discretion over the time. There's no interest on council's side to pursue that on that level. So I don't want for us to continue to focus on that piece because it only creates opposition.
And it continues to tie us to a responsibility for public comment that we don't have and we cannot affect. We did our portion in reviewing everything, offering recommendations, going so far as to create a video to instruct people on how to be affected. That's the most we can do. Really, we can't tell council to change it. We can't affect if they change it or not. But we took what they asked to review all of these things, to offer recommendations. We brought it to the public. We did our own work in creating something, and that work can continue. But our focus as a board is not public comment.
So there's like a world of, if we maintain issue one community conversations, if we continue to hear out of the community that public comment is an issue, it puts it into issue number 3, rapid response. We're hearing in the community that this is still important. We can bring it up. It doesn't have to hold a specific space in the work plan itself, because what this says to, if I were on council and we have that in there, it would say, hey, buckle in for a hard year because we're gonna come at you beating a dead horse.
Right.
And I don't know that that's really where we want to be.
Yeah, I'm not trying to prolong this because this opportunity in growth and development of this board. What authority and responsibility we have to give independent recommendations to city council based on what we analyze. We analyze, whether they want to accept it or interested in it or not. And feedback that we had that affected trust and transparency and public comment was caused by that. So the only thing that, even though that's completed, we as a board recognizes that other things, and if it's kept in a committee's work plan, as long as we get that trick in there, that we analyze that and feel something needs to continue with that. And if the only thing we feel we can do is the video, fine. But all we can do is make recommendations. So I don't know. I hear what you're saying. I just want to make sure we don't lose this opportunity, because when I hear what the city council is interested in and what we determine the interests of the residents are, that's why I'm here. And so, that's how this permits, we don't lock ourselves into that kind of thinking. So
To be clear and to almost reassure you in the sense that we still have a report from 23, 24 to give. That's where all that information lives. That we did our work, we did what they asked us to do, we did the research, we went a step further, created something for the public. Like, there's no fault in what we did, and we're still gonna continue that.
Exactly.
So that's in kind of past, present. The work plan I'm talking about creating now is present to future. So if continuing to figure out how to work with public comment isn't part of the work plan, I think that's okay, because we've done the work of what we're,
So I've read this about 3 times, and I don't see where it involves the council at all.
which part?
Issue number 2. I mean, this is public awareness for how to participate in public comment. I think if that's something we see as important, we can continue to educate the public on how to comment regardless of what the council feels. I mean, the council could say 30 seconds, 15 seconds, 3 minutes, 2 hours. I mean, for us and our role in this, I think maybe there is something here that we want to continue doing, and that is giving information and helping folks with that process and how to get up in front of council, regardless of whatever the council rules are. I mean, I think I was thinking about it the other way. I was thinking about the rules and all the stuff with the cops, and like, hey, we've done that, tag, we're out. And then the more I read it, the more I'm like, well, wait a minute, what does this really say?
Right.
This is kind of saying something different. It has nothing to do with council. Council can do what they want to. We're trying to help the citizens have their voice heard, and that may be important to continue.
I hear that. I will say that 2 and 3 were created after that request from council to.
Yeah, I understand it was in response, but I mean, just reading how it's written.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Jeff.
My encouragement would for us on issue 2 to actually take a step out, and we're actually increasing public awareness and potential for civic participation, which then can include public comment. That cannot be the only pathway, because I am socially and civically active and I ain't spoken in front of a city council elbow. Right? So like at the end of the day, for me, what I see in that is that was a really specific very narrow issue that we were tackling. And while it lives under an umbrella of something that I believe is really important, right? Like increasing civic participation, period, to me is where we want to be, because it puts that there. It also then says getting involved, volunteering, finding connections to your children's schools, et cetera, like all of the things that make a whole human being participate in society in a municipal setting is really what, to me, is more of a draw, because it gives us the space and the latitude that we're ultimately seeking.
Very cool.
I would go with the same public comment under it, be happy.
Mhm.
What I would love to do is I don't remember how we did this before, whether it's on vote or.
It was chair, no, that's why I said ad hoc, but
To establish an ad hoc committee for a work plan subcommittee, or work plan committee, subcommittee, whatever it needs to be, to dig into that. I, again, was not gonna say, this is what our work plan is, let's all agree and vote on it. I think it's important to have a full discussion on perspectives on what the work is, what we want to do, knowing that kind of our, our main tenants are still there, wanting to do community conversations, wanting to have engagement, and then still being able to respond. So, yes.
Can I ask a process question for historical context? And then also just with the discussion of establishing this ad hoc work plan work group, is that the board, and I do read bylaws, I do read policies, like it's kind of my thing, but, the board was created according to the ordinance. The board will conduct only activities specifically referred to by the city council or as described, in the annual work plan presented to and approved by the council. So with whatever work plan committee members are present, really making intentional of what we include and what we don't, because if we don't, we can't do it. I just want to mention that comment, but then to my curiosity about the process is going back to this, it states in number 2, the first sentence, the city of Raleigh surveys. I'm curious because you said we researched that. So I don't know, I'm not familiar with that. And I've been at council meetings and I have a lot of people who, when they come up to make comment, they're like, get really perturbed with the council of, oh, I only have 3 minutes. It's kind of, they think it's something against them as opposed to there's been a change in the process. So I think that educational ongoing piece is really important, but was it the city of Raleigh that created surveys? Was it this board? And then if we said that this work is done, has there been any follow-up surveys that can note a change in, so we're measuring our improvement, has this actual this?
Never released.
Yes.
So the video was never released.
Right.
So in terms of where we went, we collaborated with the Office of Community Engagement to use their survey mechanisms. We ended up having about 800 respondents. I think it was obviously a broader pool, but I don't remember off the top of my head how many thousands of people it was that were solicited in that. And then what we found were several things, including the time limit. So I want to say we picked up 3 different issues that were like, okay. And we came to an understanding of like the best way for us to approach it is with the video. And even from the retreat, we're still thinking about how to get it out there and how to push it out. But there hasn't really been municipal support for it. So there's a world of like, how are we getting this out there? It's why we're developing social media channels. Like, again, trying to move around some of the obstacles in that way. So there's a part of this particular thing that I feel like we don't have closure on it, which is what part of this conversation is. But I think in respect to, because I was on the work plan subcommittee, one of the things that happened is like outside of the community conversation, there wasn't really very much that was animating us at that point. There wasn't anything that was sort of pushing us into a specific place until we got a request to tackle public comment as an issue. And so that's why it was raised specifically as a number 2. And as we understood, I feel that, man, I hope I'm not telling on nobody. In terms of issue number 3, part of it was, hey, we took on this issue that was given to us by the city council. What happens with these other things that we might hear from the communities or, with in our own settings, what have you? And that's what resulted in number 3 being developed as a sort of to give us that flexibility to tackle things that had an urgency that seemed to make sense in where we were.
And if that urgency came from council as well. So again, the public comment was not something that we brought to them or something that was sort of in the an agenda of things that we expected to take on. So it's something that was brought from council specifically to research, offer information, whatever we want to do. So part of that rapid response as well is being willing to take on some of those issues that come up that relate to community engagement for us to be able to respond to them. Almost to your point of, you know, what's in our work plan, what we will need to do. Well, we say that, and they say, well, there's a parking meter issue that we need community engagement to help with. That kind of, this gives us a way to take some of the work that we're taking a lot of time to do the thing. So it is a little bit of a backdoor to not lock ourselves in only doing certain work, certain times, in certain ways, but we can flex to what's needed. So as far as the work plan, I'm gonna call it subcommittee because that rolls off the tongue easily for me. If you're interested in starting that committee before we leave, please come and see me. And that way we can talk about how we will arrange timing for all that. But again, it's an important discussion to have so that one, everybody sees what we were supposed to have been doing, how those things change, and we can kind of ride where we want to go. Again, to Dr. Lane's point, we don't want to see things and drop them. Some of it is are things that we completed. We absolutely did this very specific task. Like moving forward, what do we feel is left undone, what we want to carry on, how do we phrase that so that it's not a specific task that goes away, but it's part of our ongoing work, et cetera, et cetera. Does that make sense? Sound fair enough? Yeah, so let me talk, I'll keep talking. So again, if you're interested in this, work plans, committee, subcommittee, let's get in 5 minutes before we leave at the end of this. We've got 4 minutes to get through the rest of this before we get to staff update, but I think about something we'll also be able to figure out. Standing committee assignments and meeting time. So board record, 3 standing committees are listed for this board, the equity committee, the policy committee, and outreach committee. There are chairs, excuse me, for each of those previously chairs, for each of those committees. We didn't discuss, chairs at the retreat, which are really appointed positions. They're not voted positions. I think I already asked you whenever we had switched in here last, if you're still willing to go chair.
Yeah.
So Tom is the chair of the outreach committee. The chair of the policy committee, did not renew her participation on the board. That was Sarah, who's also a member, board chair. And then our equity committee chair is not serving as chair anymore. But I think we also had a discussion at the retreat. And Jeff, who's on the equity committee, will serve as the equity committee chair. What?
I'm just gonna hear you.
I'm sorry, Jeff is gonna serve as the equity committee chair.
Oh.
So policy is without a chair, myself, Dr. Lane, and Carmen serve on the policy committee. We'll discuss if either of you are interested in serving as chair. Don't look at me like that.
We haven't recruited new members.
That's good.
We still have opportunity.
That is good. Yes. So those are my committees. I believe that when I sent out the emails about the retreat, asked if you were interested, what committee you're interested in serving on. So for the most part, I have everyone except for newest members. And generally don't like to ask until you've got a feel for what the committees do, which usually during these meetings, each chair gives a report from the committee, so you understand what the committee is working on, what the main issues are, et cetera. So it's not something you have to decide today. If you still want to have time just to hear from the committees what they do and what they're working on. As it stands, I have Jeff, Trey, Ashley, and Lasharo as members of the equity committee.
Not trying.
Here.
Praise. Oh, for one and a half.
Officially, she is. We'll talk about that.
Officially,
Still a member of the board?
Okay.
Officially she is.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yes. The outreach committee, Clinton, Tom, Anthony, and Veronica, I think you said flex between outreach and policy, is that correct? You said outreach then. The outreach committee. And then, again, myself, Dr. Lane, Carmen, and possibly Allison on the policy. So, yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, yeah. So, each committee meets at their designated time each month. We had a regular meeting on a certain day, I believe. Outreach typically meets the week before the board meeting at a certain time. And equity, I think, also met at a certain fourth Tuesday of the month. So one of the chairs will just kind of confer with the members of the committee that are here after the meeting to see if you want to keep that. I know that's none of them on this, so I'm so sorry. You get to make that decision, I really, but making sure we have those times, days and times. One of the main reasons is to also help out staff because they book all of our meetings, spaces, make sure all of our times for these meetings and committee meetings. So as much consistency and ahead of time information that we can give them as possible is great. And again, if you're not familiar with the committees, yes, Carmen.
I did want to remind you that there was an issue, we wanted to make sure that the committees met in time to get the reports to you or to the chair a week ahead of time so that the reports could go out.
That's correct. So, I think the only committee that was ever in that kind of in danger of that was outreach because I need exactly the week before. And usually I try to send out a reminder the week before so you can read out is coming for the meeting. And I try to send one out on Monday, as well with all the information. So up to you.
Yeah, we can check. That makes it easier for you and we just process. It's not another day in the calendar. It's fine. But
You'll just have to discuss
yes,
when you're going to meet next,
yes.
so that everyone on the video.
Make sure
then
and then
when-
what's the window of time that's, okay, get that. Yep.
So again, if you don't mind circling up with your committee chairs very quickly, if you want to keep the time that you have right now and then discuss it at that committee meeting and adjust it in the future, that's fine. But just to make sure everyone has some consistency there. And then again, Antoine, Suzanne, sorry, I look at people's faces and sometimes I think I'm saying the wrong thing. We'll also have a new member again next month, so we'll still have time to transition into whatever space that you want to. I think you have an idea, you want to talk with that committee chair today.
I'm curious about equity, the equity committee.
So, but just so everyone knows, that's what they are, and the task is just to know when you're gonna meet and let Dale and Nadia know as soon as possible. Last thing is this meeting time. So for the past, 2-3 years, we've met second Wednesday of every month, from 4:30 to 6:30. Last year, we did vote to have rotating meeting spaces. So we would go through each district and meet at a specific meeting space or a different meeting space every month. And then kind of cycle back once we get back to the beginning of it. Really as an effort to be visible and accessible to the public as well. We've had some meetings that were great where people showed up and had a lot to say. Some where people just come to listen and see who we are and what we're doing. And that's kind of the ideal, so that we're not in one space and make people come to us all the time, but we're in their space and our individual meetings as well. That is up to change at any point in time. So as we were renewing, as we were getting new members, different schedules come into play, I wanted to at least put it on the table. I like the consistency of second Wednesday of the month, 4:30 to 6:30. We did at one point discuss meeting less. So I wanted to at least bring it for any discussion. If there is no change in it, that's perfectly fine. And we can continue with business as usual. But again, new year, new members, I wanted to at least offer discussion on that. Or from staff, if this is a terrible time for y'all, we don't know, whatever the case will be. Yes.
I said it, we're going to this second Wednesday and like a holiday. Just put that no meeting or to move around or just leave it for that long.
That's a good question, because I don't think we've had that happen very far. Did we have a contingency for that? Yeah, I don't know that we had. That's happened.
We stopped doing them on Wednesday.
Yeah, we have had,
We passed like TV.
Right,
It's not really interesting.
most holidays on Monday, except Thanksgiving.
We should put that in our, oh, it's not in our bylaws.
We can, I think it's something that we decide, that we determine as they come on.
Yeah,
We just can't answer all those.
if we need to shift it, I wouldn't say do it any sooner if we can, because we have things like committee meetings that happen in between, but we can discuss shifting a week after. I would hesitate to change the day, just because some of that consistency is key. But, as we're building the location calendar for this year, which Jeff will help do with, staff, we can at least forecast that there's going to be an issue, because the viewing centers will be closed too, if it's a holiday, it's a city holiday.
I think,
But thank you, it's a great point.
and I think there's requirement for public notice, at least a week or two. For public notice about, I think, board meetings.
I'm checking it out. I think it is 2 weeks. but I'll double check.
I think we need to keep that in mind.
What's been helpful is having a slated location and our dates, so for the past several months, Dale's just gone and put in and confirmed the location, so, but that's true too.
I feel like this is an equity thing, but what I would love to do or offer to complexify our engagement with community is the idea of going ahead and slating out probably for the whole year, because we have a mapper. I think the only other thing was from the retreat, that public input piece and sort of intersecting to see if there's any shift or change in that world. It's possible, and with it now that the engagement network is live, because it's really live off July 1. Yeah, fantastic. If we set the slate, then we could develop, I'm just gonna say action team. I don't know that it has to be one, or like, it could be a rotating thing. But like now we are actually at the place of having the opportunity to reach out into the engagement network and invite people here to perhaps have just a little bit more presence, community presence. And to, because at one point in time, we talked about like, is there a local business owner? Are there things we should learn about these communities that we're popping into? And I think that that's a wonderful, there's a wonderful opportunity there that we're not fully maximizing at this point. That feels sort of pertinent to this conversation.
And I think Dale has some of the information on helpful for, and that tool that we talk about actually what might. That's also a great way to utilize the action teams. There's a lot that we can do here, but there's so much more to dig into, but really specify whether it's from specifically an equity or outreach perspective to get people engaged in the, like, to media to learn with us. Any discussion or changes to our regular meeting time? I'm gonna ask everybody, I'm not singling you out. You had your hands.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, I just checked all Wednesdays for the next year and we're not getting.
I can trust a former legislative administrator.
Okay, second Wednesdays every month. At least we know, to secure locations. I'm gonna almost stop talking. If you have your self-assessment, that you wanted to hit in person, don't forget to get me before you leave. I think that was almost all of the things, but I'll wrap up with any other announcements at the end. Dale and I even staff updates.
Okay, staff updates. We have a few here. Loomly was approved. What we need to know now is which emails we should use to set up the account. We do have the game wheel. It has been purchased. It is in our van. We have already used.
It's really cool.
Polos and name tags are purchased and on the way. Hopefully they'll arrive by the end of the week, but I'll keep you posted on that. Swag has been ordered. I believe that has come in. We've had so much swag come in for different purposes, so for our social and all of that. But I think you all stuff is here, so when you all decide to go out, we'll figure that out. Just give me a heads up and figure out how to coordinate that, get this stuff to you all. Let's see. What else? There's something else. We are making progress with Portico. Speaking.
Yeah, sure. So in regards to Portico, public input, as you all know, we sent the demos to you all. In the retreat, we were asked to just do our diligence and kind of work behind the scenes on getting them clearance from IT, as well as procurement. We have had a chance to all meet together, and have exchanged emails, already, and are trying to get the internal kind of documents and things that we need signed, taken care of. Eventually, we'll probably loop in legal as well. Like with any contract with the city, legal has to be involved. So once we get IT clearance, we will move forward with that. But pretty much, we are making some good progress. Really just wanted to encourage you all to figure out how you're gonna implement and like operationalize these community conversations and kind of just think through, the questions and how many events and where the events are gonna be held and the time and the people and that, is there gonna be an application or is there gonna be, is it gonna be open to the public? Knowing that it's only, at least with Portico, 6 to 8 people that is recommended for the community conversation tool to really work. Yeah, just, I don't know if y'all want to do that during an outreach committee meeting or as a full board, but that will help. But we'll just keep working behind the scenes as y'all figure that out. Just want to set expectations that like, this isn't something that can be done tomorrow, right? Because there's a lot of departments and, certain process we have to follow with procurement and just like IT clearance. And then, it's AI. So it's like something that's completely new and the city's like, I don't know about that. So just want to, set the expectation that this isn't something that's going to happen right away. But we are working on it. We're making progress. I can anticipate this taking maybe 1 or 2 more months for us to secure a contract. But I think in the meantime, trying to flesh out all the details would be my recommendation and know that, there will be a tool available. We just don't know if it's Portico or if it's public input. And if it is public input, then it might take even longer, because the decision has to be made of whether public input is going to be available for all boards and commissions before we move forward. So hopefully I have given context to new members or people that missed a retreat. But just know that all the internal kind of behind the scenes stuff is making progress. And I'll try to keep Stacy and Tom, since he's been so helpful and you guys have been so helpful in moving this forward. So any questions about what I just said or anything that you guys need from me regarding Portico or public input? All right, well, I see that Dale has the public input equity tool up. I know that was something that people were interested in seeing, since we already have a contract with public input like the city does. We do have access to this, like our office has access to it, so it's not something you have to wait to view, right? So this is what it looks like, and I'll let Dale take over.
Yeah, so this is, the equity mapping tool, that public input showed us a couple weeks ago. And some of you all were there at that meeting. Here are layers that they have already created for the tool. You can see the 80th percentile children under 5. You have an 80th percentile less than high school education. Linguistically isolated, 80 percentile, low income, so on and so forth. Now, click on one of the tiles. It might take a minute for it to populate, but there you go. And then it shows you the area, where this is prevalent at. And for this particular one, 80 percentile low income is, most of a lot of Southeast Raleigh. You have some Western Raleigh over here. I wish I could blow it up bigger. Should have brought my mouse. It's kind of hard to navigate with that, but you get the idea of how you can add these layers, and it'll tell you where those areas are. I'll do another one here.
Click on the minority one.
That's where I was going next. I'll click on this one. You can see most of that is South and Southeast Raleigh down here.
Would you mind doing both layers that you
Sure.
listed, low income and
Yeah.
minority? Thank you. I was curious how the multi-layering feature.
Yeah, so little multi-layer, different colors.
What was over the age? What
I'm
was
sorry?
that? The next one down from minority, says something about over the age.
That is percentile over the age of 60.
Yeah.
Would you like to see that one?
So just as a reminder, when we were talking about the choice between public input and Portico, I think Anthony brought up or pointed out the fact that we could, if we like the system and it's kind of an easier process and more beneficial for us, especially long term, and utilize Portico, and then without establishing a brand new contract or an official relationship with public input, we'll have access to this tool to help guide things like community conversation, because it's part of what the Office of Community Engagement already has. So for those conversations or otherwise, it is still something that we maybe didn't know existed before that we can implement at any time without having to pay or contract for it to have the information.
Yeah, being able to access this data, I think it helps guide us where we can find places where we can go with the Portico project and across the board. Where people, where is the need? So, we're looking at a nice gap analysis.
And this was, I don't know that Trey used this specifically with GI Fest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the concept underneath Trey's work in identifying where we wanted to land, just not specifically, because that's really in depth. I mean, in terms of what we see in there, that's not available in the geographic, is it geographic imaging system? That what GIS is. But I agree, and I wonder if there's a world of us sort of using those overlays to then like even get more granular in terms of who we're engaging with. Like, I would like to know that I'm identified a certain type of way in this area, maybe that's just a renter's concern, right? Because I always feel like I'm aloof from the community in a certain way.
Well, that sort of harkens back to the conversation that the Alex Lee had, or one of the initial conversations about how for the union conversations, you are identifying who you speak to, whether it's specific to issues in the community, or you let people in this area tell you what the specific issues are. So I think this affords an opportunity to do both more intelligently, and a little bit easier for on our end, instead of having to really dig and see and you know, rely on whether it's volunteer or whatever people feel comfortable with, we can kind of tailor whatever our engagement or our ask is based on who we know where. And then if you want the question to be more leading based on issue, or if you want them in general, but led by geography, that both of those things help, which I think is nice. It gives, yeah, really.
No, no.
How up to date is this information? How up to date is it recent, kept up to date daily or what?
I'm gonna say it's pretty recent, I think, public input. Not sure how often they update it, but I want to
I
say
mean,
very.
within a year or 6
Yeah,
months.
I believe it's
So
every sooner than that.
And the other thing, as far as getting the numbers that go with those overlaps, so households or residents or individuals, does that give you that also?
It doesn't, I was gonna speak to that. There's an option where it says mind map layers, and I believe that's a conversation that I need to have with public input. Just that we wanted to add our own layers to this map. Is that possible? Is it gonna cost us more money? Can you do it? Or is that something that they can, I can tell them, hey, we want to see this information and they can update it for us. So that's something that I'm working on.
Political tools similar to usually there, they have a census.
Yeah, they don't have that connected to it, so they get the sense.
Because it does have a census, qualified census tract information on
But
here.
that would be a reason for it. So
Well, the census, I mean, they do the 10-year census, but then they come out with 5-year community survey. So it should be at least every 5 years.
that's good to know that. Yeah.
I have one other question, just because I'm ignorant. So when it says 80th percentile or 95th percentile, what does that mean?
It's a good question, because I kind of have to, kind of looked it up myself, so.
Google it right
I'm
quick.
gonna give you the answer.
It's a bell curve, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, average population in the 50th percentile, you're looking at people that are presumably in their 30s to 40s. But as you move to the 80th percentile, you're cutting off a portion, and that's where folks are getting older. There's a 95th percentile too, so that would mean not 64, but closer to 70, 73. Like I don't know what the breakdown would be age-wise, but
So Google says the data point that falls at the 80th percentile is something that has a value greater than 80% the data points within that data set. So the way that I'm interpreting it is at least 80% of people within these certain regions are children under 5.
My understanding with, and for some of it, like income, I think it's pretty straightforward that the 80% of people who are the bottom 20% of income. But I guess I had put it on the way, so like 88% minority. I don't,
So it's basically 80% of minorities live in
live in
this
a population.
region. Yeah,
And they define
or
minority.
more, 80% or more.
They define the groups.
Huh?
They define the minority groups.
We have.
I mean, it's just general.
Yeah,
So I don't
it doesn't break it
I
down.
don't know, yes, yeah. What?
Yeah, it's not white. It's white majority.
Like, what is it? Yes, I mean, that would be helpful.
So maybe that's something as we're asking in public input about additional layers, like as we get more focused on what we are hoping to find or who we're hoping to connect with, that if they are willing to come and sort of discuss those things so that we understand what data points exist and how, which ones don't, and how, you know, if they do break it down by minority, when we just don't know how to do that, if we don't know what they are, maybe they can give us a demo or information on how to do that further. So maybe that's a question about creating those different layers, but also what they are, what the details are, and then they'll come help us understand those before we jump into the tool. Maybe.
But I think we can, Jeff, I think we can use this to kind of figure out where they hold the meetings at, where people are not being engaged.
Just two more things, community engagement, summer tour is currently going on. We have like maybe 5 or 6 events left throughout the summer. Feel free to come visit us or
Black Farmers Market on Sunday.
Square and some other areas. So would love to see your smiley faces. And then the most important is our summer social for all boards and commissions. Highly encourage you all to attend. It will be at Dorothea Diggs Chapel. And we would love for you all to all be there and represent the community engagement board and have, food, activities, swag, mayor speaking, and is gonna give some remarks, and opportunities for you all to network and other board members, that serve, and volunteer their time for the city of Raleigh. And yeah, any questions about that? So it is next Thursday, July 18th at Diggs Chapel or Diggs Park. Yep, starts at 4:30, ends at 6:30. It's gonna be 2 hours. Really, it's just our opportunity to acknowledge all our board members, commission members, and thank y'all for your service and have some fun together. There will be air conditioning.
Yes.
You
Then I
know,
think the RSVP closes tomorrow. If you want to RSVP before you leave, it's just your name and email address.
yeah. Yeah, and,
It's in your email.
you can come if you don't RSVP, it's totally fine, it's just to get a head count. And, make sure we have enough things, but totally fine if you don't end up RSVPing because you forgot, but I encourage you to RSVP. And then, there will be live music too, we have a violinist that's coming, and she will play the whole time, and yeah. Take pictures, all that stuff. So.
Yeah.
That's it.
I don't know, but how many people went last year? There were a few, okay. I remember, did we have, with an ID tag when you signed in, did you know your name and what committee?
Yeah.
Or that kind of thing.
Yeah, we'll have that.
And then there was a summary list of all committees that was available also. But I don't know about definition of what each of the committees did, but just a summary names of the committees.
We'll have all that. We'll add our welcome table with some swag and activities and things that you can do throughout.
No, it was good.
Yeah.
There's a lot going in.
Yeah. Jam packed. Cool. That's all. Us.
Again, our president of the territory to be at 6:27. Our agenda. If anything, any updates on any of these things or something else from retreat comes up, it'll be in an email. Please do try to join next Thursday if you can. It was fun last year. Any other business before we entertain a motion to adjourn? Then at this time. Motion by Antoine, first, there's no motion, second by Anthony, all those in favor, please all say aye. Any opposition? Perfect. Thank you guys. Please, don't forget to circle us really quickly with your committee chairs. Just to confirm your next committee take, and then if you want to serve on the ad hoc work plan committee, see me. Yeah.